I would have to wake up very early in the morning if I was to meet my grandma before she left her house in the morning. Especially in the summer of 1989 when I would jump on my pink 10-speed bike and I'd pedal my skinny 10-year-old legs as fast as I could. And as I'd round the corner to the back of her house, I would arrive just in time to help her load her car full of supplies. This is because she would regularly visit the shut-ins and people in need. To my grandma, the act of preparing and serving food was the greatest act of love. She'd have a box with butter containers filled with her home cooking. It looked like everybody was going to get, I can't believe it's not butter and country crock to eat that day. She would never buy Tupperware. She also was not part of a group or committee or an auxiliary. She would just be sitting in church and she would hear, Mr. Smith fell and broke his hip, or Mrs. Jones hasn't left the house since her husband's passed away. And then she set to work, preparing food with love and then going out and serving it to all those in need. Through the years, she not only fed people, but she bathed them, cleaned their house, took care of their pets, and if you were a lady who couldn't leave the house, she would wash, trim, and set your hair in curlers just to make you feel beautiful. So early in the morning, after the car was packed, I would ride along with my grandma to help. I started to form a bond with many of the people that she would visit. But I enjoyed visiting Marie the most. Marie was my grandma's neighbor. And in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, she owned a five and dime. And after it had closed, everything that hadn't sold was now cram-packed inside this house. Now, to me, a treasure hunter, a 10-year-old treasure hunter, I did not see an episode of Hoarders. I seen myself on the cover of the National Geographic as a treasure hunter looking for lost fortunes. Still, the very first day that I met Marie didn't go so well. I walked into her house and the overwhelming smell of urine and mildew engulfed me. And I exclaimed, while pinching my nose, "Ew!" My grandma turned very quickly to face me, removing my fingers from my nose, scolding me, saying, "Nikki, I thought you knew better. Everybody deserves love and respect." And then it's what she said next to me that has affected my career as a nurse today. She said, "The stinkier they are, the more love they need." And believe me, this is very true. And thank God for the phenomenon known as going nose blind. Both me and my grandma, we started to get into a routine, especially when we visited Marie. My grandma would bathe Marie, and this would give me the chance to go throughout this house and explore and search through all of Marie's things. Marie had this massive, and I mean massive, button collection. I could sit for hours looking through those buttons. I loved them. But when my grandma was done, she would sit me in front of Marie opposite of a food tray, and I would help feed her while my grandma attempted to clean Marie's house. This would give me the opportunity to ask Marie about all the great things I had found. I guess I figured one bite of food equaled one question. So I would hold up a button and I'd say, "Marie, what about this one?" And she would tell me quickly what it was used for, and if I was really lucky, it reminded Marie of a story, and she'd tell it to me. Then one day, I showed up at my grandma's house, and she had to tell me the bad news. Marie had passed away, and I was very sad. But my grandma told me that I had made Marie feel special by being interested in her life and her treasures. So, why does a 10-year-old girl want to wake up early in the morning to hang out with her grandma on her summer break? Because whether I knew it or not, I could feel the sacredness of her work. The empathy that she allowed me to experience by showing me how to care for another human being has stayed with me today. I have realized that it wasn't, the feeding of people was just her way in. It was by the way she made people feel they hadn't been forgotten was her real work. My grandma later gave me all of Marie's buttons, and I'm saying like 3 big tubfuls of buttons. She told me that Marie had willed them to me, and at 10 years old, I believed her. Today, I am giving you a piece of her legacy by gifting you one of Marie's buttons. It's a token to remember to love thy neighbor, to remember you don't need big business or large corporations to feed the hungry. My grandma taught me to just stop and listen to people. She's played the hugest impact on me being a nurse today, and when that career weighs heavy on my shoulders, I think of her, and I remember that one person can make a difference. My grandmother passed away this past February, and how ironic that the lady couldn't feed herself in the last years of her life. But so strong was her love and passed on, especially to my mother and great aunt, that they went every single day to feed the lady that would let no one she knew go hungry, especially the stinky ones. Thank you.